All right, so here we are, episode 16. Um, so we left off. Kirito got that message from Agile about there being somebody looking like Asuna in like a behind bars. So, um, luckily, all these people from the first season, they all live within a distance of each other. So it turns out that he owns a tavern, which, I mean, I guess if he owns it, it's one thing, but he routinely lets these teenagers in there. Okay, whatever. As long as he's not giving them alcohol, I guess. But so he's like, all right, so here's what this is about. Have you heard of this? And he slides the game over to him. And he looks at it. It's like, I'll. He said, I think it's called Alfhelm Online. Huh. Alfhelm Online. It's called that because you choose a race of 9 different fairies, and it's like Sword Art Online, but it's got magic, and it doesn't have the whole death thing. Also, there's no leveling up. It's based off of pure skill. He's like, huh, it's kind of weird, but what's that got to do with anything? And he flips it over. So you see this in the middle of the map on the back here? It's called the World Tree. There's a quest to get to the top of it, and if you get to the top of it, you get this insane reward for your race, and it's a big to-do. But no one's done it yet. No one's even gotten close. But one of the draws to this game is you can fly, but only for so long. And so these characters got an idea to find out what was at the top, but they couldn't even get to the lowest branch. What they did was they took 4 or 5 people, with the heaviest person being at the bottom, and they stacked on each other. And the person at the bottom would jump off and fly as far as they could. And then the next person would follow suit. And they never even made it to the bottom branch. But they did take an interesting, odd picture. You see this? This picture, you could barely see through the branches, but there's like a bird cage. And when you zoom in really close, that's who you see. And then Kirito starts reading the box a little bit more. And he's like, this is Sugo's company. And they have a flashback to him saying, you could say I'm the one keeping her alive. So he's got a suspicion that this guy has trapped her in another game. And he's like, well, I gotta save her. And so he's like, can I have this game, Agile? He's like, yeah, no problem. But I mean, just be careful. He's like, what do you mean be careful? It's a game where you can die. How hard can it be? Which, I mean, he's got a point. Like, I mean, he beat SAO, the death game. So what? I'm sure he's not gonna die because he can. It doesn't seem like in his nature. So, anyways, he goes, or he asks him. He's like, so I guess I need to buy the hardware, huh? And he's like, no, it's compatible with the nerve gear. And so he's like, oh, okay. So, all right. And he goes home and he talks to his sister. He's like, thank you for last night. I'm going to go now, though. She's like, all right. And he locks himself in his room. He stares at the nerve gear for a minute. He's like, I never thought I'd be doing this again. He puts it on. He logs in. And they're like, choose your race. or no, choose your name. And he has flashbacks of people recognizing his name. And he's like, they don't say it, but he's weighing the pros and cons of using the Kirito as his name again, because that kind of puts him out there. People know who he is. So he's like, no, fuck it. That's my name. I ain't gonna hide it. And then they're like, choose your race. And so he scrolls through and he finds one that's dressed in all black. He's like, that's the one for me. And he gets it, and it's what they call a Spriggan. Kind of a mischievous fairy, for those of y'all that don't know. Well, not even fairy, because a real Spriggan isn't a fairy. Just a mischievous being. Then they're like, your appearance will be decided for you. Is this okay? Like, what, you're going to say no? All right, well, I guess I just ain't going to play the game I bought. Anyway, so he looks very similar to what he is. And they tell him he's going to be transported to the Spriggan town. Well, he doesn't get transported there. He gets dropped off in the middle of nowhere. So then he gets to looking at his stats, and he's like, this isn't level 1 stats. And those are my abilities from the previous game. And there's a whole bunch of items here that are all question marks. Well, if I have all my items, and he scrolls through. There's one item that's not all question marks. It's a code. And he's like, I wonder if this will work. And he clicks on it. It materializes the item, and he touches the item. And lo and behold, it's Yui. Well, he did say that he stored her in his local network nerve gear hard drive. So she's there, and he's happy to see her, and they hug, and he's like, well, what are you doing here? And she was like, she's explaining stuff, and he's like, well, what does the game classify you as? Well, it's calling me a navigation pixie. And then she shapeshifts into like a little pixie flying around. And he's like, well, do you have the same abilities as you had in SAO? And she's like, no, it's pretty much just information finding and navigation. And so he's like, well, I guess we're on our way then. And he runs into, well, she detects someone being attacked. And they look up, and he learns how to fly sort of really quickly with the assist mode. And he sees this, they're called Sylvans or Sylvains. They're kind of like wind elemental sword people, fairies. And two of them are running away from another race, which is the fire salamanders, and they mostly use spears and fire magic. Who would have thunk it? And so they're trying to kill them for their money and gear and stuff. And the one guy, his name is Recon. He's a tool. He's a noob, but he gets iced off. He takes out one guy with him. She gets cornered by like 3 more after she takes down a few. It's clear that she knows what she's doing. And then Kirito falls out of the sky, because you can only fly for so long. And I guess he miscalculated that. He falls on his head right in front of him. And he's like, it's kind of lame for 3 heavy armored dudes to be ganging up on one girl. And they're like, oh, you're real tough talking there, noob, with your noob gear. And one of them rushes him with the lance. And keep in mind, I said he noticed he still had his stats from the other game. This dude just grabs the spear in midair and just stops him and throws him away like trash. And he looks at her and he's like, "Is it okay if I kill them?" And she said, well, they plan on killing you." He's like, "Oh, okay." And then a flash goes by, and then one of them, they're all looking around, and one of them's dead, and he's like standing behind him and is like, "Who's next?" Yeah, he hadn't changed. But so they're on their quest to go save Asuna at the top of the world tree. He knows nothing about this game, but he's already saved a girl. And if we have any indication from the first season, she's probably gonna like him. Just guessing. And she'll probably be teaching him about the game. Just guessing. All right, on to the next one.